You ready, Sheila?
I go first. I think she looked really good. You're calling me to order first, isn't it?
Good evening. This meeting will be held with all of our council members participating in person. The public can join this meeting via Zoom. In order to allow the town clerk enough time to make sure that everything is working properly and folks are able to join the meeting, we will begin the meeting in a few minutes. Thank you for being patient with us. And thank you all for wearing your masks. I appreciate it.
This is the same message, just a different voice. Good evening. This meeting will be held with all of our council members participating in person. The public can join this meeting via Zoom. In order to allow the town clerk enough time to make sure that everything is working properly and folks are able to join the meeting, we will begin the meeting in about 5 minutes or so, maybe a little less. Thank you for being patient with us as we adjust to hosting electronic meetings. Thank you. Thank you.
You ready?
She ready?
You ready to rock and roll?
Okay.
Good evening. It's good to see so many people in the audience. This has been a long time. It's like, seems like a year, right? The Town of Southern Shore special meeting and public hearing for March the 16th, 2021 is now in session. And the first thing on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In just a moment, I'll ask you to join me in a moment of silence. In the past week or so, we lost a good neighbor on Hillcrest, George Robinson, and of course he left a wife and son that I know about. But he was not a close friend, but someone I knew well because his property was involved in the Canal Dredge project many years ago. Just keep him in your thoughts, his family in your thoughts during the moment of silence, if you will. Moment of silence, if you will. Thank you. Thank you. The purpose of this special meeting this evening is to allow each of you, whether by Zoom, email, letter, or in person, to voice your thoughts and opinions as they relate to the establishment of 2 or more municipal service districts in support of our planned beach nourishment project and the associated steps necessary to accomplish that project. As a result of this hearing, there may be some changes made in the report as advertised to reflect the projections, debate, and discussion held here tonight. The tax rate will be set with the adoption of the budget. However, it's important to note that Council has consistently said that all properties in Southern Shores will see a tax increase that will go towards beach nourishment debt. Council has considered many scenarios, but won't know that until the budget is voted in June what that rate will be. Council will be listening tonight and not directly answering questions. It's important that everyone has the opportunity to be heard. We ask for everyone to be patient and mindful of each other's time. We want to hear from each of you. We also want to be mindful of the need to be safe and responsible, and want to get you out of here at a reasonable hour if possible. No decision or vote will be taken tonight. We will not be voting on anything. This is a public hearing, and we are here for that purpose only. Following, not tonight, but in the future, specific questions should be directed to our town manager, whose contact information will be made available to you after the meeting. At this time, I'll ask our town manager to give a brief presentation ahead of the hearing to explain the process of establishing an MSD moving forward. Cliff?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, council, and thank you for everyone attending here tonight. I just wanted to start off real briefly with the project that council approved in moving forward in June of 2020. You may remember that the project had 3 goals, and that they were to provide a reasonable level of storm damage reduction to public and private development, to mitigate long-term erosion that could threaten public and private development, recreational opportunities and biological resources, and maintain a healthy beach that provides sufficient usable beach and supports valuable shorebird and sea turtle nesting habitat. The council was presented with 5 different options from our beach engineer, coastal protection and engineering. The option 4 is what was chosen in order to best meet those objectives I previously stated. Option 4 places 878,300 cubic yards of sand on the entire length of the town's beach and was selected as the preferred option. So what brings us here tonight is how are we going to pay for this project? And municipal service districts have been the preferred method for which these projects have been funded in Dare County and throughout North Carolina. As the mayor stated, the purpose of the public hearing tonight is so that property owners can voice their comments as they relate to the creation of the two municipal service districts to help fund the town's cost to the beach nourishment project. MSDs are defined by North Carolina General Statute in Chapter 168, Article 23. And according to the North Carolina School of Government, a service district is defined as a defined area within a municipality or county in which the unit's governing body levies an additional property tax in order to provide extra services to the residents or properties in the district. A service district is not a separate government. It is simply a mechanism whereby a local government may raise money to pay for services or projects from those property owners that most directly benefit from the service or project. The general statutes also establish the purpose for which an MSD can be created. It says that the town council of any town may define any number of service districts in order to finance, provide, or maintain for the district one or more of the following services, facilities, or functions, in addition to a greater extent than those financed, provided, or maintained for the entire town. There's a list, but I won't read them all. The first one in that list is beach erosion and flood and hurricane protection works. The statutes also require that there's a standard that must be met. The town council of any town may, by ordinance, define a service district upon finding that a proposed district is in need of one or more of those services, this being beach nourishment, to a demonstrably greater extent than the remainder of the town. As we know, everyone in the town benefits from beach nourishment, and every property will be assessed a tax to pay for the project. But since those properties in the 2 MSDs, as advertised, benefit more directly from the beach project than those properties not located in the project area, it was responsible or reasonable that the property owners in the project area should pay additional taxes for the construction of the beach nourishment project. In addition to those 3 goals I stated, the property is immediately adjacent to the beach in the project area. The project is designed to provide for a dry sand beach area in all normal tidal conditions, thus allowing for the enjoyment of the beach for all users. What's stated is that the town is committed to beach nourishment to maintain a wide recreation beach strand, to protect structures of historic significance, to maintain a tax and economic base, and to protect infrastructure, including facilities for public recreational access. In order to maintain the aesthetic and environmental value of the beach strand, the Town Council for Southern Shores has determined that the creation of one or two or more municipal service districts for erosion control and hurricane protection works will be for the benefits of those properties located within the MSD. The process requires, as it should, that there be a public hearing that is properly noticed. Notice of the hearing shall state the date, hour, and place of the hearing, and it shall include a map of the proposed districts and a statement that the report required by the statutes is available for public inspection in the office of the town clerk. The notice should be published at least once, not less than 1 week before the date of the hearing. We've advertised this public hearing in the newspaper on February 7th and 28th and March 10th. In addition, it shall be mailed at least 4 weeks before the date of the hearing by any class of U.S. mail which is fully prepaid to the owners, as shown by the county tax records on the preceding January 1st. We mailed these notices to approximately 900 property owners in the proposed districts on February 3rd. It's also important to note that the statutes require that the person designated by the council to mail the notice shall certify to the council that the mailing has been completed and her certificate is conclusive in the absence of fraud. So I ask now, can you certify, Madam Clerk, that these were mailed?
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay, the report that's prepared for the public hearing, which was for discussion tonight, is a map of the proposed district showing proposed boundaries, a statement showing that the proposed district meets the standards, and a plan for providing those services. In addition to the advertising I just mentioned, the report was also noticed in the town's newsletter on February 12th, 26th, March 1st, and 12th. I want to take just a minute to point out here, and you can see here, there's a question as to why these MSDs overlap. And what the statute says is that the definition of service district states that the district must be in need of the project, so the boundaries of the district must include the actual project. So obviously the oceanfront, the blue MSD, abuts the ocean. In order to tax a second municipal service district, it has to include the boundaries of the project. So in doing so, it also includes the boundaries around MSD1. That's the reason why those in MSD1 would pay both taxes. Municipal service districts are nothing new in Dare County. Last night, you may know that Dare County initiated the process to create an MSD to pay for a project in Avon. The town of Nags Head is in the process of adding 4 additional MSDs to the 2 they created in 2011. Duck, Kitty Hawk, Kittle Hills, and Buxton all have MSDs established for their projects. And in the rest of the state, there are 2 in Bald Head Island, there's 2 in Indian Beach, and there's 1 in Pine Knoll Shores. Going back to option 4, we talk about the project costs. The estimated cost for option 4 is $14,755,600. But recently, we were made aware by Dare County in the distribution of the county occupancy tax. The latest financial models have fixed our costs. So our project became a fixed cost in regards to the amount of money that the county Beach Nourishment Fund would contribute. And that amount in the funding models is $14,538,000. In our portion that's circled there in yellow, the portion that the town of revenue that the town has to generate to pay towards the project is a total of $6,123,873. So if we look at splitting those pieces up, you'll see that, and I'm sorry that is those small print, but the gray is the portion that the Dare County occupancy tax will fund, and that's about 51% of the total cost. The orange represents 9% of the total cost, which is a grant the town received in October from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. There were 8 towns that received a grant it totaled $11.5 million, and that was a one-time grant. Our portion of that is $1,408,247. So the remaining part of that we're going to talk about with MSDs represents about 40% of the total cost. And I do want to note that how important it is that everyone knows this. The beach is the main revenue driver in Dare County tourism industry. It generates nearly $109 million a year, and it supplements our taxes by almost $3,000 a year. We all know this. The beaches are important infrastructure, and the beach supports about helps to generate about $2 million in occupancy and sales tax towards the town. And again, you'll see this is the one of the awards awarded out of that $11.5 million grant. So if we take that 40% and we start to divide it, and this is simply an example, as the mayor noted, the council is going to, once the boundaries are established, the council is going to have to determine how they're going to go about structuring these taxes. But there's been a lot of comments from folks that want to know how is that going to be done. And I think I just want to briefly mention this. Again, it's not the purpose of the hearing, but if we were to take that 40% up and divide it, and the mayor has said, and I've said that the townwide, there's going to be a portion of tax. That portion was 35%. The MSD one was a portion 35, and MSD a portion 30 to make up that $6 million. The taxes on a $500,000 home would look something like this. The townwide portion would be $137.50. The 35% would amount to about 2.75 cent tax increase. MSD2, it would amount to 6.25 cents or $450 on a $500 home. And that is made up of both the townwide and MSD2. MSD1 on a $500,000 home would be $1,312.50. That's made up of the portion of MSD1 and 2 in the townwide. A really important thing to keep in mind is that in addition to providing a higher level of storm damage reduction, implementation of a beach management plan establishes eligibility for the town to recoup sand losses from coastal storms. What this means is if say for example, we nourish our beach in the spring of 2022 and a storm comes along at some point after, and it's a declared presidential storm, the sand that's lost to that storm, we'd be eligible to submit a request to FEMA to have that sand replaced and put on our beach. So it's kind of serves as almost as an insurance policy in that if we have a plan, a beach plan, and we engineer our beach and we put sand on our beach and a declared disaster takes that sand, we're eligible to recoup that cost, to put the sand back. Hopefully the reoccurring theme from the comments we've gotten, hopefully we can at least put that to bed tonight. And the council's been, in all the discussions, has been pretty uniform, unanimous that every town property will be taxed. All properties should be taxed, and everyone should pay their fair share. The question is, for you to determine is, what is that fair share? It's all residential and all commercial properties will see a tax increase for the beach nourishment project. Another reoccurring thing is, why don't you use sales tax, or why don't you use more occupancy tax? The increase in sales tax, and originally you'll remember years back, there was a sales tax for beach nourishment, which was repealed. And there's been exhaustive efforts in Dare County for a long time, including advocating for years to generate funding for beach nourishment from the state and federal government. But after years of no financial support, the effort continues to generate another source of funds, but to date, there's been no other source of funds other than local funding. Another question is, assess it to the renters. By North Carolina state statute, the counties in North Carolina can only collect a maximum of 6% occupancy tax. The only exception being Mecklenburg County, and they can collect 7%. So at current, we're collecting the maximum amount of occupancy tax that we can. Another one is tax only the rental properties. it's been stated that municipal service districts should only include those in rental programs. And actually, that would be against state law. It would actually be against the North Carolina state constitution. It says that charging additional taxes only on certain properties would violate the rule against uniform statewide classification. The state constitutional requirement, Article 5, Section 2, says that property taxes be uniform within a jurisdiction applied to district taxes just as it does to general property taxes. As a result, local governments that create tax districts could not choose to levy district taxes only on rental properties at a lower rate or higher rate than they tax other types of property in the district. So you can't take certain properties in town and tax them differently than you do others. There's also a state law that passed some time back that says, in no event may a local government do any of the following. The third one of those is levy a special fee or tax on a residential rental property that is not also levied against other commercial and residential properties. So we can't treat the rental properties differently. Now, what you can do, and you've obviously, you've had some, in those comments that you've received, you've had a lot of suggestions on how the boundaries could be drawn. And that's the purpose of the public hearing, really, is so that you can hear something tonight maybe you haven't heard before, and you can consider how that affects your decision to vote on this. And lastly, so tonight the town council will take all comments in consideration. There be no vote taken. The state statute also provides that it allows for an owner of a tract of parcel of land located within a proposed district, either at this public hearing or no later than 5 days after the date of the public hearing, which would be March 21st. It says the owner it gives them the ability to submit written requests to the town council for the exclusion of the tract or parcel from the proposed district. And it's pretty specific what that requirement is. It says the owner shall specify the tract or parcel, state with particularity the reasons why the tract or parcel is not in need of the services, facilities, or functions of the proposed district to a demonstrably greater extent than the remainder of the town. And again, that can be done tonight, or that can be done by the 21st. No ordinance defining a service district shall finally be adopted until it has passed at 2 meetings. So right now what's planned is for you to take your first vote at your April 13th council meeting. And then if that passes, you would take a second vote at your May 4th council meeting. Tax rates would be established with the adoption of next year's budget. And as always, a public hearing is held in advance of adopting that budget. And comments can be made then about the taxes of the municipal service district. And then the tax would become effective July 1st. As the mayor mentioned, that's my contact information. If anyone has specific questions or anything about what I've said or about questions moving forward, please don't hesitate to contact me. I'll have cards. I'll be here after the meeting and would be happy to talk about whatever it is you would like to. And Mayor, I think at this time, the town attorney, Ben Gallup, was going to conduct the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr.
Take
Mayor.
over, Ben.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a public hearing to consider MSD districts or municipal service districts on the ocean front related to beach erosion control and hurricane flood protection works pursuant to 160A-537. It's very similar to a legislative public hearing. There are a number of people in the room here today, and there are also a number of people that the town has given the opportunity online to speak today via Zoom. So we need to be mindful of everyone's time. I think there are 40 people who have signed up to speak on Zoom. I don't know that all of them will speak. I don't know that all of them are there, but I'm going to go through that list at some point. There are also 10 to 15 people here who are present in the room to speak. Additionally, there were approximately 35, I think 36 written comments received. The council has received them. They will not be read tonight. They will be posted online, and they will be part of the minutes of this meeting. This is not a time for questions to the council and answers. This is a time for the people who come up to speak with their concerns and their thoughts about the municipal service districts. We're going to limit to 4 minutes per speaker. Is that okay, Sheila? Can we do 4? Okay. We're going to limit it to 4 minutes per speaker. When you come up, if you could state your name and address, and Zoom folks, if y'all could do the same things as coming up to the podium when you get your chance to speak, if you could state your name and address before you speak. It's going to take me a minute to figure out exactly how to get each one of y'all lined up when we finally start doing that, but hopefully it'll go somewhat smoothly once we get to y'all. We're going to have to figure out how to get everybody unmuted at the right time and do those sort of things. There's a number of you online. Also, if you send in a written comment, I would ask that then, in consideration of the other folks who are here and the number of people who are in this room and the number of people who are online, if you would consider either not speaking because you've already submitted your comments, or limiting your speech to something that you've not already addressed and trying to be as short as possible with what you're providing, since you've already had an opportunity to present your comments. Sheila, is there a list of folks who are going to speak from in the audience? Okay.
Thank you, Bonnie.
I'm going to start with the people in the audience, and then we'll move to the people on Zoom. The first person is Robin Morgan. Ms. Morgan, if you could come to the podium, state your name, address, and you'll have 4 minutes.
Hi, my name is Robin Morgan, and I live at 57 Deer Path Lane, and also have an oceanfront property at 124 Ocean Boulevard. I mostly have concerns about this, the service districts. Are these going to be permanent and attached to the properties that you all decide? Will it only be used just for beach nourishment? You know, the money that you raised for that $6 million, because we know that's only the first leg of whatever we're going to try to stop the Atlantic Ocean from doing. It will eventually be more. So I guess that's a concern, is how long this will go. And if it's permanent for beach nourishment, I hope that the money just goes for that. Because living also in Southern Shores, we could have another municipal service district apparently established for another reason, from what I've listened to this evening. And then my last thought is, if Southern Shores collects extra money, like how they have done in Avon last night, would they reduce our tax bills up here in Southern Shores for the beach renourishment? Thank you.
Thank you. The next person on the list here is Ken Fisher.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ken Fisher. I have a house on 7th Avenue, and also part owner with my brother and my sisters with a house at 256 Wax Myrtle. I'm a resident of Colorado. I don't get out here as much as I'd like to, but my main reason for standing up today is to thank the council and the mayor and everyone for getting us this far. I was here a year ago and then a year before that, asking primarily. Then my strong objection was that the plan was not to cover the whole town. So I really want to thank you for doing a plan that covers the whole town, because I lived on an area of the beach that wasn't going to be covered by the plan. So I really would like to thank you. I'd like to thank you for making the meetings available on Zoom too. It's very difficult to get here at a short notice. I just happened to be here this week. So, and I'm not sure I understood. I appreciate the mailing. I'm not sure I understood from there that the whole town was going to pay something. So I'll make these comments very quick, because I had understood it was just the two districts. And I think if anyone thinks that the whole town doesn't benefit from the beach, they're missing some things. I counted 14 crosswalks down here, which the town has done a great job of lighting, so don't run over people late at night. I don't believe that those are there for people to just cross North Carolina 12 for fun. They're going to the beach. And I have parking on my street that's a couple houses down from me that you have to have a town sticker to park in. And whenever I'm here and it's not this early in the season, that's full. And it's full on all of the streets on the numbered streets because people who have homes in the dunes, including the people who stay at my brother's house, park there because they want to go to the beach. So I don't think that any plan that involves sort of only the people on the east side of North Carolina 12 paying for the nourishment makes sense to me. So anyway, that's my comments. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Rod McCauley.
Good evening, Rod McCoy, 811th Avenue. If the council remembers, I was here the other month talking about this, and I was the entire audience. So it's really great to see a bunch of other people come out, whether they're for it or against it. If the council decides to go ahead with the proposed nourishment of the entire beach and southern shores, the intended improvements will benefit all residents and visitors to southern shores. The cost should be shared more evenly than contemplated in that proposed in MSDs. The intensity of the tax hike for oceanfront property owners, which I am not one, is too high. Those 100+ homeowners, most of which are not year-round residents, already pay the highest taxes based on relative higher value of their properties. With the proposed MSD structure, they will be assessed additional tax increases. There is a precedent in the town for sharing improvement costs more evenly. Most recently, beach nourishment in the southernmost section of the town was funded partially by homeowners whose properties were threatened, and the rest by all homeowners in the town. When the canals were dredged some years ago, all homeowners contributed to it, and not just the homeowners who were along the canals. When road improvements are done or sidewalks added, all homeowners equally share the cost. The proposed beach nourishment is not being done to protect individual properties. The enrichment of our beachfront will enrich all homeowners. The considerable tax increases need to fund the project should be spread more evenly among all property owners. My feeling is if MSDs are necessary, an MSD for beachfront and an MSD should be the rest of the town. That's all I have to say. And by the way, happy St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry Scott.
Fellow residents and councilmen and ladies. I'd first want to mention that my wife and I were told that there would be a buffet served this evening.
We'll find out who made that claim.
Rumor.
Just a few notes. It's possible that some could view the establishment of a municipal service district as a dressed up way to raise taxes, using the pretext of beach nourishment as a means. This would just provide an extra layer of bureaucracy. The beach nourishment idea is a good one, but it should be done by private funding, donations, or maybe a beach philanthropist will stand up. Just Place several plaques along the beach with contributors' names, giving them the deserved credit. Most importantly, my wife and I pay enough each year in taxes, and at this point in our lives, we don't need any extra financial burden. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Michael Iwashenko.
Hi, my name is Michael Iwashenko. I live at 7 3rd Avenue, and I have another trust property at 10 3rd Avenue. So I've got two properties in MSD or MDS. So my taxes are right now set up to go about $2,600. I don't rent my house out, so it's fully incurred by us personally. And I realize that, Southern Shores doesn't really have a businesses like compared to Gill Double Hills, Nag's Head, Kitty Hawk. So I realize the money situation. I'm adamantly opposed to beach nourishment. I've been a geologist for over 30 years. I've worked on numerous dredging projects. So I do know what I'm talking about on this, but I just think that, even devising this, the payment plan and dividing it up by all is just not fair. I mean, everybody in Southern Shore should pay a uniform amount. There's so much traffic that comes from the west side and then comes to the beach. And I realize that. But being down here for 40 years, I see that most of the money is spent on the west side. I mean, our Seacrest Village sign's been rotting in the woods for over 20 years now. Most people don't know about that. But I just think that the payment plan that you guys, or the taxation plan that you guys are devising, is wholly unfair. And so I'm adamantly opposed against all beach nourishment. That's why we bought houses 3 and 4 back. The beach will always be there. It's just a matter of how much. We've seen what happened in Rodanthe. We've seen what happened in Avon. We saw what happened down at 4 Mile Post. The minute they finished the project, the storm came next day and wiped it all out. So I'm not a fan of pumping money into the ocean. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Ann Shorsma.
I have to wear this? Can I take it off?
You can
No,
take it
you
off
can
to
take it off
speak.
to speak.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the MSDs that have been proposed. Ann Scherdsma, 69 Hickory Trail. My family has paid taxes and contributed to the occupancy tax base in Southern Shores for 50 years. I myself have been paying real estate taxes since 1975, and we currently hold in my family 5 properties in the proposed MSD 1, 3 of which are oceanfront, 2 of which are oceanside, and 1 in the MSD 2. So we have quite a financial investment in Southern Shores, and we are poised to take quite a hit with this project. I am and always have been willing to pay my fair share to support Southern Shores, place I love and call home, to support its growth and well-being and to support its tourist economy. But I think creating these MSDs to fund a proactive project that is not based on current need, except for in the southern end of the town, is simply a penalty on those of us who are in the MSDs, especially those in MSD 1, oceanfront people. Mr. Ogburn went through the legalities here, and he read the definition of the standard that you're to apply in finding for the creation of a municipal service district. And I'd like to point out that nowhere in that definition does the word benefit appear. It's all about need. Every time I hear about MSDs, people are discussing who benefits. That's irrelevant. The standard is that you can define a municipal service district when one is in need of the service to a demonstrably greater extent than the remainder of the town. So you would have to say that my property at 174 Ocean Boulevard is in greater need, demonstrably greater need of beach nourishment and hurricane control than someone, say, on Wax Myrtle. I don't think you can say that. This is a proactive project. We all know that Hatteras Island is the is the one that takes the hit on hurricanes. Nags Head takes the hit. Kill Devil Hills even. Southern Shores does not. The storms are scattered by the time they get here. The last time a major storm hit Southern Shores was the Ash Wednesday storm of 1962, and it was a nor'easter. It wasn't a hurricane. So I just don't believe that there's a need here for these MSDs. I don't think you can meet this finding. And if you veer off into deciding who benefits, you're not applying the legal standard that the North Carolina legislature set for you. This all came about too a year ago. Already there were suggested MSDs, suggested tax rates. This was all done before you even looked at the need. It was all driven by property values. What Mr. Neal called his ad hoc approach to determining the MSDs and how much the tax rate would be. I think that too was inappropriate. That was improper. That had nothing to do with the statute and with the finding, which goes to need and a demonstrably greater extent. The only property owners in this town that have that need are those down by Pelican Watch and the southern end of town. I also would like to say that we should not give up. If you want to do a proactive project, that's your goal. If you want to fight sea level rise and theoretical storms that will never get to Southern Shores, I got one more minute.
Finish your sentence.
One more minute, then you should do something that is a townwide tax, and you should also get coordinated with the other towns and start looking at some recurring funding sources, like the sales tax that Cliff Ogburn mentioned, which was repealed by the voters in 2006, way before beach nourishment became widespread on the Outer Banks. I voted against that sand tax in 2006. I'd vote in favor of it now. Thank you.
Thank you. Jane Smallwood.
I'm safe. I've had two shots a long time ago. I have a proposal to make. I am Jane Smallwood. I live on the ocean front in a 60-year-old house, pre-code. It's on top of the dune. And the house which I inherited from my folks. So my proposal is that there are only, how many? 10, at least 10, that live full-time on the ocean front. I'd like to know how many there are. So my proposal is we don't make any money from our rental of our houses, and my taxes are already over $7,000. My proposal is that we who live on full-time on the ocean front be taxed with the brown group, the second layer of houses. Okay?
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in the audience who has not spoken who would like to speak to this public hearing? Okay. Seeing no one, I'm going to start with the list of the folks who are on Zoom. Okay. That some may be there, some may not. This is going to take a little bit of logistics to make sure we get find the right person and get the right person unmuted. The first person on the list is Mark Martin. No.
I didn't sign up.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead.
Mr. Martin does not wish to speak. Jeff Johnson, do you wish to speak?
No comments.
Okay. Sally Ann and Bertus Doherty,
No, we do not wish to speak.
Thank you very much. John Pitzer. Once again, John Pitzer. All right. And
No, we do not wish to speak.
thank you very much. Ann Pipkin. Ms. Pipkin. Move to John Webb. John Webb. Nancy Sykes.
We do not wish to comment at this time. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Lisa Emig.
Yes, I wish to speak at this time.
Yes, ma'am. If you could state your name and address, and Ms. Kane will keep up with your 4 minutes for you. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Lisa Emick, and I live at 1 Mockingbird Lane. I have an oceanfront property, and I'm with several people that the oceanfront property should not be taxed, should not be in 2 MSD districts. I think that so many of the other town residents use the oceanfront property, and it seems not appropriate to me that we're being assessed twice in the MSD district. I do agree with the Beach Nourishment Project, and that I appreciate the fact that you're addressing the issue, but I also agree with some other comments that were made that indicate that we at Southern Shores do not sustain the hurricane damage that so many other properties have received in Avon and further down on the Outer Banks. And thank you for your time, and I appreciate the effort that you're making to incorporate everyone into this discussion. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Matthew Troy. Matthew Troy. Steve Romine.
Yeah, good evening. Can you hear me, Ben?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to address council tonight, mayor and members of the council. My name is Steve Romine. I'm one of the owners of 4 Sandpiper Lane on the ocean front. And I'll try not to be redundant. I just wanted to make a few comments. Firstly, I applaud the sand nourishment plan. I think it's a long time coming. I think it's going to benefit all residents of Southern Shores. I do believe that all property owners will benefit directly. Some people believe they'll just benefit indirectly, but I think it's a direct benefit for all property owners and landowners in Southern Shores, and that everybody should bear the cost. The question is, should there be differences in the district rates, and should people be bearing costs differently? I think we need to try to achieve some level of fairness in those costs, and I'm going to address a few thoughts I have on that. The public trust doctrine in North Carolina allows all people to use the beach. Oceanfront owners don't own the beach. They obviously are on the beach, but everybody gets to use the beach, firstly. Secondly, oceanfront owners are already being required to give a permanent easement to allow the nourishment to go forward without compensation. And I think there is some value in that conveyance as well. Property values across the town will be directly impacted and will increase. Obviously, the values in the town already are subject to the proximity of the beach, the stability of the beach, and the usefulness of the beach. So a wider beach will increase all values in the town. I agree with some of the comments made earlier, and I want to be more of a unifier than being divided. But I do believe strongly that we should all bear the cost, and maybe there's some differential. And finally, I would say, just in context, oceanfront owners already pay higher taxes because those properties are valued higher. If the nourishment comes in and that nourishment increases values, my oceanfront taxes will go up commensurately. So we're going to have a built-in increase if we have increased values. My guess is going to be that with the nourishment, all values are going to go up, and so that all people will benefit. So I would just say, maybe we end up with different districts. Maybe some people are bearing a higher cost than others, but there needs to be a fairness. I haven't done the math, but to tag the oceanfront, there's only a few of those homes with all the burden, I think would be unfair. I do also would conclude and say that we ought to explore other tax sources and other places to get money, which may include the sales tax. Ben, thank you for the time to talk, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good luck.
Thank you, Steve. JP Beckham. JP Beckham. Andrew Moynihan.
I don't need to speak. I've sent written comments.
Thank you very much. Joel Scheingold. Joel Scheingold. Misty Desutter. I apologize for stating it wrong. Preemptively apologize for stating anybody's name wrong tonight.
Good evening, it's Misty Desutter.
Hello, Ms. Desutter. Would you like to speak?
Yes, I'll just make a brief comment.
Go ahead.
I live here in Pelican Watch Way, full-time resident, and we have benefited from the beach nourishment. I know a few years ago.
Ms. Desutter, we can't hear you very well. Is there a way to?
Oh, let me see. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Misty Desutter. I'm a full-time resident in Pelican Watch. And I would just like to say that beach nourishment has helped our area. It has restored our dunes. And we're very happy with the process that we have in our area. I do think that all residents should be taxed the same. And I do not agree that there's different MSDs that have to pay more than others. So that's the only comment I have. And I did send an email, and you guys can follow up with that. And thank you for your time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. David Grossman. David Grossman. Bob Vanderspiegel. Bob Vanderspiegel. Lorelei DiBernardo.
Hello, yes, this is Lorelei DiBernardo. I have already submitted my comments. However, I just wanted to reinforce the fact that I think that the maps are unfairly drawn, that the higher percentage of the new taxes will be on the northern end of town. That's clearly not fair. I urge you to come up with a more equitable map. Thank you.
Thank you. Joyce Carroll.
No comment at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Marilyn Laurie.
I don't have a comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Peters. Mark Peters. John Price.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I think I did submit some comments, but I want to make a few other comments. First of all, I want to recognize that I know all of you are residents of Southern Shores too. So it's not like you're just people that are coming in to hold a meeting for us. This affects you as well. I appreciate the time and effort that's been put into it. I do feel that a more equitable distribution of cost across the entire community could be reached. Over the years before we were property owners, and we're at 176 Ocean, one of the old flat tops, we knew that we weren't typically able to afford to rent an oceanfront house because the rent was higher. So we were, typically up on Wax Myrtle where we could afford. So we realized that what people, charge in rent is based on how, proximity to the public access or to the ocean itself. The other thing that I want to mention is that at last year's hearing, when this first came up, the comment that I made in public was that we could do nothing and hope for the best. Or we could embrace this plan or a version of it. And we may not be successful, but at least we can say we tried. When I look at the total budget that's been laid out against approximately 950 homes in Southern Shores, if the internet's correct, if we did straight math on the total cost of the project, to be $17,000 a house. Right now, if somebody said to me that my beach will be better for $17,000, I'd pay it. That's not what I want to do. Somebody made the comment that we don't own the beach. We don't, but we do pay taxes for it because our lots actually go to the high water line on the beach. So I think it's important that we actually do everything we can to enhance, protect, and preserve our beaches. And lastly, before buying in Southern Shores, even though there was a 50-year family history there, I couldn't afford Southern Shores 20 years ago, but I could afford Wrightsville Beach. And I'll tell you what, there's a place that has no beach, and oceanfront homes are $50,000 and lots are $75,000. And if you wonder why, you'll see what could happen if we lose our beach. It's not just the homes and the people that own the waterfront property, but the beaches are gone as well. And so is a large portion of their economy in certain parts of the island. So I thank you all for your time. I've sent my comments, and I hope we can come up with a plan that works for everybody. I strongly support this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Dave Mackey.
Yes, I mail my comments or email my comments in, so I only want to just continue to voice opposition to the MSDs as a means of funding this. I am an oceanfront owner that doesn't rent, and the tax increase is pretty dramatic in that case, and I believe the beach benefits everybody, so I don't think it's fair to burden those closer to the ocean. I agree with much of what's been said here tonight, and appreciate the time. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Louis or Louis Blanco. Louis or Louis Blanco. Steve White. Steve White. Tom Peabody. Mr. Peabody had said that he did not wish to speak, but he's opposed to beach nourishment. If council proceeds with this program, including expansion of program north of PF area that consultant had identified north of 3rd Avenue. That was his comment. Selby Bartlett. Selby Bartlett. Bob Cropper. Bob Cropper. Cynthia Simpson. Cynthia Simpson. Mark LeBlanc. Mark LeBlanc. Joanne Pohl, Pohl. Joanne Pohl. Cindy Gross. Cindy Gross. Valerium Morel. Valerium Morel. Helen Howells. Helen Howells. I don't know. Okay. Mr. Panoff, you're still on mute.
So, good evening. Hi, my name's Tim Panoff. I own 104 Ocean Boulevard, a house that was built in 1968 and has never had flood damage or anything of the like since it's been there, and take a lot of pride that you used to be able to see the house from the Kitty Hawk Pier, but that doesn't exist anymore. I just want to echo a lot of the comments that you guys have heard tonight, and I hope the council takes to heart what the constituents are saying, in that everyone should pay their fair share. It's not really double on the MSD 1 and 2, it's triple. We have higher home values on the ocean front. We have MSD 1 and 2, which will then compound, the tax to our properties. And except for Pelican Watch, and I feel bad for the folks in Pelican Watch, but Pelican Watch and the Southern Shores Hotel and the Kitty Hawk Pier have been a troubled area since I was born, and I used to walk the beach with my parents years ago. And I marvel at the stability of the beach in Southern Shores. I assume my father, when he bought the property in the 71, I have pictures where you could walk underneath our dune platform, and the exact dune platform is in the exact same position, and it's being built up by dune and dune over the years. So I'm not sure I am on board with the Nourishment project, but I can tell you everyone benefits, and that's kind of how I look at it, and I hope you take that to heart, that this should be applied across the board, not just to oceanfront property owners. We get a penalty on insurance, we get a penalty on taxes, we get a penalty on everything else already for being on the ocean front. And yes, we chose to be there, but everyone gets to benefit from the beach. So thank you for your time. And I want to give a shout out to Cliff. I really appreciate his responsiveness. Wrote him several emails over the last week or so, and I do appreciate, Cliff, you responding. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Paula Sherlock.
I submitted a number of questions on behalf of property owners from 56 Ocean Boulevard to 68 Ocean Boulevard. And I think, we had some particular questions. I mean, I really agree, Tim. We're your neighbors just up the beach. I agree with a lot of what you say. Not only do we pay more insurance, higher taxes, we also spend money every year on sand fences, uh, beach nourishment efforts that we do on our own. So we're certainly willing, I'm very supportive of the beach nourishment project. I'm willing to pay my fair share, but I think we have to face the fact that the entire town of Southern Shores benefits from saving our beaches. And that comment about Wrightsville Beach, you're exactly right. That beach is gone. There are a number of other oceanfront communities that have lost their beaches, and Southern Shores needs to save theirs. So I'm willing to do my part, but I'd like to see this be apportioned as fairly as possible. Thank you, and thank you, Cliff, for talking to me, and Elizabeth for talking to me. You really answered a lot of questions for folks.
Thank you. Jim McElwee?
Thank you. I have nothing to add this evening.
Thank you. Robert Moore, M-O-I-R. Robert Moore.
Yeah, I've unmuted video. I simply, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, simply would refer the council respectively to the written statements I provided. I want to just indicate briefly, I very much support the effort that's been made here and the concept of the project. I would strongly urge, however, that council work diligently to impose a more equitable burden to property owners in the town. If we have to have municipal service districts, I think they need to be larger or something, or we need a third district because we need to pick up a lot more individual properties than you have currently. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Mark Edsel. Mark Edsel. Ben Packard. Ben Packard. William Kohler. William Kohler. Lynn Schmitz. Lynn Schmitz. Robert DeFazio.
No comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Jackson. Mary Jackson. Kenneth Rogers. Kenneth Rogers. Oh, you're on mute, Mr. Rogers. There you are.
We are. It's Kenneth Rogers, have a property at 74 Ocean Boulevard, which we enjoy from time to time. Unfortunately, we live in Texas and can't get there as often as we like. Just note that my father-in-law is Kern Pitts, and he would be very surprised to see how sophisticated and advanced the town of Southern Shores has become. But he would, I'm sure, be very pleased by the progress. And I just encourage the town to try to allocate the burden of this obligation as fairly as possible. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And Ken Fisher, is that the Ken Fisher that spoke earlier?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Perfect. And then I was waiting for someone in the list to have a joke name since these are email names. And finally there is one. It's Sheila Kane. It printed the list from the Zoom list. But I caught it before I called her name out to ask her to speak. But that's all that we have on the Zoom list. Mr. Mayor, I would close the public hearing now.
Thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
your help tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate all of your attendance tonight and the words you've shared with us, the thoughts you've shared with us is pretty important. I did pick up on an overarching theme of more equitableness, which I think is something we need to consider very carefully. Anyway, I appreciate your help. Council, any further comments or things you'd like to talk about?
I'd like to say one thing, and I said this at this morning's meeting, because this was a legal type meeting, many people have emailed us, but I've been hesitant to reply, and I think most council members have been also, and even to the few that I replied to, and probably other council members, we had to keep in mind that this was a legal proceeding. So if you did not hear from all of us or from individuals up here, it's not because we were ignoring your comments or your input. It's just simply because this is a legal type meeting and we needed to be careful. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Jim.
Can I make a comment? Nobody called on me.
What's your name? We see a John, but what's your name?
My name's John Alphins. I signed up late, but I got an invitation.
Mr. Mayor, I would entertain Mr. Albin's comment. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Oh, can you spell that again?
That's Althans.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, I would reopen the public hearing and entertain his comment. It
No
sounds like
problem.
he signed up and a little bit after we printed the list.
It's all right.
And
Thanks,
after he
Appreciate it.
speaks, I'll check to make sure there's not anyone else in
All right.
that same position.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I'm against the beach nourishment project in itself. This will be my 66th year coming down to Southern Shores. Been an owner since 1980. Bought a flat top in 1986, and then rebuilt it in maybe 90. And I've been coming down for 66 years, and sure seems the same to me. I've also looked at beach nourishment projects in Sandbridge, Virginia Beach, and they last so long. And I like Southern Shores as it is. I rented my house. I'm not going to rent it anymore because of the Chinese virus just wasn't worth it. I purely rented it just for the people who were repeat renters. And then after last year, it's just not worth it. And I'm going to spend more time down there. So I'm against it. But if you're going to do this because it benefits all Southern Shores, then everybody should share in the same boat. If that's your idea behind it. That's it. I appreciate let me talk. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Thank you. In that regard, is there anyone else who I did not call your name who received a Zoom invitation and signed up to speak that did not have an opportunity? I think the easiest way to do it is might be a technical trick for some folks, but there's a little button you can click that waves a hand at us that will show up on Miss Kane's screen here. If you could click that, we could figure out who you are and see if we can help you out. Give you a little bit longer. There's a more button, I believe, down at the bottom, or depending on what you're using. And then there's a wave hand button that'll show Miss Kane that you're interested in speaking. Or you can type in the chat window is another way that Miss Kane has pointed out that you can let us know that you would like to speak. There's no hand showing. Miss Kane, is there anyone in the chat who's decided to speak? All right. Again, Mr. Mayor, I'll go ahead and reclose the public hearing and let you get back to.
I'll just reaffirm I got your message to reclose public hearing.
Perfect.
Okay,
Thank you.
Great. At the staff level, Cliff, you have anything you want to add? Council?
I have nothing other than to thank everybody for coming, and nice to see a crowd again.
It's hard to believe this is a crowd, but it is. Anyway, thank you for coming out, folks. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate your comments and your thoughts and your suggestions and recommendations. Thank you.
You need a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I do.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
How you doing?
A lot quicker than I thought.
Yeah. Keep Jake and Melissa out.